birthday to him. I know when he was living, he told me he was going to get a PhD. Now it's about 10, 11 years now. I don't know what he has done with the PhD that he said he was going to get. He said he would devote himself to research and, education. But I don't know what he has done about that. But that was his promise. So I'm still waiting for that, his PhD. Now, as for President Jonathan, who was at that occasion, to honor a man he described as very loyal to him, I think it was very good that the president was there. And what President Jonathan said is very true. There is a lot of betrayal in politics. There is a lot of treachery in politics. And a man like President Jonathan, is in a very good position to talk about that. He's the only man in this country who has occupied all the most senior positions, from deputy president to acting governor to deputy governor to acting governor to governor to acting vice president to vice president to president. No other human being in the political history of Nigeria has that record. So he understands the terrain and he knows what he's talking about when he talks about betrayal and treachery. Don't we, on a daily basis, talk about contemporary, display of treachery, of indiscipline, of well, I don't want to use a strong word. There's a strong word coming to my head. But you see that's why some people say, oh, politics is a dating game. I don't want to go there because most politicians of the Nigerian variety have shown that they have no principles, that they have no second address, and that in fact they have no address. There are politicians in this country who have moved from one political party to about 5 different ones since 1999. What do you call that? It is an affirmation of the observation of President Jonathan, which in my view is on point. Now let's talk about Osun State. Now the matter is now before the Supreme Court. Now what the outgone chairman of Osun State and his other officials are saying is that, look, when Mr. Akunle Adegoke, FCN, who when he appeared on this program, the first question to him was that he should define his bona fide as a major stakeholder in Osun State politics because he wants to be governor. And he said, yes, he's part of that story. We posed a question to him that, look, is it true that the CBN is using APC officials to open a CBN bank account into which Osun funds have been put in the first place? We think, in the light of AG Abia and AG Federation, and in the light of AG Lagos and AG Federation, which are, existing pieces, and in the light of the objection by the MDA that withholding local government funds in Osun State is unconstitutional, is illegal, is ironic, considering the fact that the man who is president now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, fought the Obasanjo administration to a standstill on this same issue. And at that time, Governor Tinubu, as he then was talking about principle, was talking about constitutionality. But for political reasons, we see him doing exactly the same thing in Osun State. And that's one position. And then, in any case, constitutionally, procedurally, the people can open a bank account for local government funds. With the CBN in this particular instance, they are directors of finance of the local councils. They are, directors of administration of the local councils in Osun State, not APC members. And the whole issue about who is the authentic local government chairman, I thought that the Federal High Court sitting in Akure, if I remember correctly, the Court of Justice Obiora, already ruled that the APC local government chairman were not the validly elected chairman of the local councils. However, the thing to say is that the situation in Osun State should be resolved, and that I hope that the Supreme Court will give it expeditious hearing and follow already established precedents. As for President Tinubu going on working leave, now in April 2025, President Tinubu traveled to the same France and UK for 19 days. Now they say he's going for another 10 days. Now he has just returned from a 12-day trip to Japan and Brazil And in between, he stopped over in Dubai on his way to Japan. He stopped over in Los Angeles on his way to Brazil. However, a president is entitled to working. Okay? We cannot argue with that. But when he was living in Brazil, I had jokingly written on the back page of this thing that I hope that the president will not stop over in France and in UK to say that he has some urgent business here. So it's just confirmed our suspicion that he has something that he goes to France to pick. He has something in UK that he goes to pick. But they say it's working leave. And Mr. Mamuga also said it's part of his annual leave. So as president, it's part of his prerogative to go on official visits, to go on state visits, to go on official leave.
They are not sure
hope that this will not be extended beyond the measure. And that the work.
So annually, that means I know 1 month.
Will be
annually, 10 days annually. That is every year.
As major state.
But every year, but I'll 10 days provide of this one.
Because like I was 10 days. When I'm born 10 days, you cannot put it.
Hey.
The people who are in charge of defense sector
That's the way they increase tax for
must remember that tomorrow they too will become pensioners. And it is how you treat your vulnerable, disadvantaged persons in society that will measure the integrity of that society. And I think that these retired soldiers, they have a case, just as retired policemen have a case. Nigerians have the short memories. They treat people who want to leave the desk. They treat them shabbily, forgetting that they too will become pensioners tomorrow. That's the morality for the day.
Absolutely. All right, let me start off with happy birthday to Chief Mike Oyadome, former Chief of Staff to President Goodluck Jonathan. Of course, it was a very colorful celebration in Edo State, which was attended by some very heavy hitters in the political space, in the business space, across different strata of society. But I think very importantly that people latched on to was the speech made by his former boss, President Goodluck Jonathan, when he was commending him for his loyalty, and in doing so made reference to, in comparison to what is obtainable in the political space. Now, it's no surprise, no news. Dr. Batili yourself once wrote an article, the phone stopped ringing in 2015, and talked about how people, the moment you step out of office, the phone stopped ringing. You're not the only one. Former Governor Segun Agagu also wrote his own experience about how the sycophancy ends once you step out of government. All the people who used to call you, email you at different hours and make you feel like the most important person in their world. So calling, Chief Alhaji Mohammed himself also made the same assertion that people stop calling you. So they don't like you, they like your office. But I think even beyond that was more about the fact that you would find people who would betray you. Going a step further to just forget about you and never that you giving you any sort of relevance in terms of you're the alpha and omega. When in office, also the fact that they would go behind your back, make statements. We've seen it here on Arise TV, where even surrogates who would come and swear allegiance to their
people like
this same platform to swear allegiance to the same person. Nice. They were denigrating and insulting and saying all manner of unthinkable things. It just goes to show the nature of our politics, perhaps the nature of human beings. But I dare say that, I want to actually take a step is a betrayal to the people.
After 4 years,
almost on their mother.
If you will finish after that 4 years,
by the end of this year, if I'm not able to tackle security or terrorism will be done, take me off, don't vote for me at the next election. Just to say I'm going to take only one. So a number of promises and speak for during electioneering. And I hope that this will be a strong message to Nigerians who are watching. That talk is cheap. The most important thing is action. At the end of the day, don't let them betray your trust by the things that they say, but actually dig deep, especially in terms of antecedents, that people who have made promises again and again and have consistently failed good at the promise, betraying the trust of those reposing them and not doing all for Nigeria. So I do think that in speaking for the Nigerian people, yes, I hear President Goodluck Jonathan saying that people are fickle in political circles, but even more importantly, are the politicians themselves who betray the trust of the people, who repose their trust in them through the ballot, especially based on promises made, and the moment they get into office, they forget the promises that they made to the people in order to get that office. So just to mention that on this Friday, but also very importantly, the soldier story. That is what is happening in Abuja right now, which is quite frankly a big embarrassment to the Nigerian government, quite frankly a big embarrassment to the military. And I say this because we often talk about veterans and how when you have served your country so gallantly, in the worst of conditions, I must add, because there are conversations around allowances, even though they have a better flight than the police, for instance, it's still not yet anywhere close to where their counterparts around the world are. And so when they serve for so many years, and then you see soldiers coming to beg, as it were, for their allowances, or in this instance, so that they can hit their voices can be heard, it is quite sad. Nigerian military men and women work under the most, harsh of conditions, yet pay the ultimate price in certain instances. When we watch things like this, what is the encouragement for young people to aspire to go into the military and serve the Nigerian people? If you can break military around the world, one of the things they don't joke with is the servicemen and women. I think it's important. Yes, I hear what Major General Marcus Kange is saying, and trying to explain the fact that they done well is because of old charts and the soldiers want retroactiveness when it comes to the payment of their allowances. But in truth, are they deserving? Absolutely. These are matters that ought not even get to the public sphere because of the importance these men and women hold and the role they played in the history of Nigeria. I hope that they will come to an amicable solution. And what I hope is that they won't be by force, whereby these soldiers will come to their rights. I'm glad that he mentioned that it's within their rights as Nigerian citizens to protest for like disrupting activities. I hope that these men or women will be scapegoats or punished because of the fact that they have the audacity to speak up for their own rights. I hope that it will be done and we will watch this finally, let me talk about President Tinubu. I often say whenever we have another holiday trip to and I know that you might say, oh, he has the right to do that. I right to choose something that belongs to them. This thing that has changed Nigeria, that he positions himself as to make a big statement in one of those leagues. He spent in Nigeria. And I can suggest a few places to him, whether he's been acquired, whether he decides to go to Bauchi, or whether he decides to come home to Lagos, or even go to Ekiti, Warm Springs. There are many places that they can build like Camp David and do it. They call God say, Warm Springs. Many places, 1 or 2 days. We should not take it as normal that every time the president has to clear his head, he has to find abroad.
You don't think you're abroad. You can go to cattle ranch.
To make things for your holiday.
Warm Springs.
As money then, and we want to go to better place.
Better place, they make that place be
mostly we back so which you cannot do in Nigeria because you're just taking money in what is it better how to do it? But you know the one if saying you cannot charge us, we treat them and get it gives you 5 million naira.
One day, no, lo and behold, that over 70% of that of two doctors go like this. When I say I don't know the when Nigeria can fly from Nigeria to the had that was not
Are you struggling with health challenges? Do you need financial?
The Nigerians do they know because there's a lot of
and that is how they
I want to try
No. That kind of thing that is not
Wait there, if I see them there, and they're plenty there.
Apply now for
I can't
And the one that has
a discounted loan
I
by
can't remember.
they'll be managing his things as well.
Yeah, we might and I'm sure those people are not
www.cambridge.com or any
Nah,
access
the
by
people are
email
Like last time they are
email to
If you want that to be better there, you then when you use some private, they give you that.
that one look at boy part about the head by your not go for the question was do the
Yes, everyone they enjoy now.
What would do that?
It's good
All our hearts and
to
we
train
to
you,
across the nation.
then you then come out when you stay there, you go to transport. They don't enjoy.
you know
Good. Wasn't as far
the time you're here the time no so why I you going to
everybody off the course, case by case.
It's good.
this life
And it
It's
can
like they're not different.
So when we have lift one, they have the
that's
It's like
Why am I going to be maybe slightly younger than your mom? Mom.
it's woman in the last week. So as we take steady steps, let's
What's your
remember conditions
position yourself? You position there. Before but then you like to know to say at least him never die. If you follow one day, every man that finish, you know what because most times don't want man and there.
more nutritious meals, more veggies, but we want it tasty and easy
Much
too.
more.
No cubes. That's made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic. And it rich with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too.
He get one street wey you go reach.
Let's give it some accolades.
Amala, na hana hanyar tosla, don't even have to know one street hanyar, never do it. Don't tell what they are.
Coming soon to over 500 million smartphone users and one and a
Can
half
be they like a man don't Instagram, of money they got.
the social platform for the world.
No, I did that one night, but they're going to
By the founders of a
Look at
rise and media group,
That's the
we
picture.
launch a big bang.
Oh, it's cute, yeah, but I'm not okay. That's not
A
better.
new homegrown social platform born in Africa and built for the world. There's community, culture, and cutting-edge AI. It's fast, culturally rooted, data-friendly, and designed to scale.
Now, I actually
Create
that's why it's problem.
business. A
Now,
one-stop
the
shop
lot
to connect.
all the other guys when you like something like that. They told me that you get this split this.
This
That is not the whole one that will 100% take yours.
for all.
No higher with the no higher saga, no higher with the no higher with everything. They don't need to be. They don't need to be like you don't need to be.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now for one brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world.
Right? We don't get money. We get go back and buy it.
Even for you to collect in your number one.
Good morning, Dr. Rubin.
Today is Muslim.
Every time you read it,
Why
you
not?
start it.
Is it not Friday? We're not celebrating. By the time you're coming up here, I'm sure there'll be plenty. I'm not going to be alive.
Like you say, but you see that
By this time,
we are see the company
implication. I will disappoint you. Good morning, everybody.
So when they even travel like how many?
Let me tell you what's happening around the world. 3 years
Yeah,
after the last outbreak in the Republic of Congo declared a new outbreak of the deadly Ebola virus just killed already at least 15 people with 25 suspected cases. Now, the Congolese health ministry says samples tested on Wednesday had confirmed the presence of the Zaire strain of the virus. So according to the ministry, the first signal for this new outbreak came when a 34-year-old woman who's pregnant was hospitalized in the Kasai province on the 20th of August with symptoms including high fever and vomiting. But it did not say whether the woman had died. Now, Congo has experienced Ebola outbreaks, the devastation of the country, killed almost 2,500 people. We also remember here in Nigeria the 2014 outbreak, which started when an infected airline passenger arrived in Lagos. The spread was of course curbed by Dr. Stella Adebo, who sought to quarantine patient zero, an effort which obviously cost her life unfortunately. And she became infected, so we will continue to monitor that situation. Now, 26 of Ukraine's allies are pledging operational and financial contributions to security guarantees for peace deal to end the war. And they're now looking to the United States. Now, leaders from the so-called Coalition of the Willing agreed on Thursday on a military plan that includes details of contributions that countries are willing to make during a hybrid meeting, which is co-hosted by the French President Emmanuel Macron and Ukraine's Foreign Minister Keir Starmer, and announcing the implement security guarantees for Ukraine, optimistically of course, and to sketch out a division of labour among Ukraine's allies. After hashing out their possible contributions, leaders did hold a call
One of the Nazis,
Trump, who was represented in
with the
Paris
for
by
front
President
desk
Envoy
there.
Steve Witkoff. Efforts continue to put pressure
He might be collecting.
on Russia. And finally, we often talk about the Caribbean, but over in Jamaica, the incumbent Prime Minister Andrew Holness has won a rare third 5-year term in office after the Labour Party
Is it?
failed to victory.
So the Nazis
Holness
actually
used
give up.
DMP's Mark Golding.
Now she dey give herself, as you know, they give her now.
Posted a narrow lead for the opposition.
Okay, what are the Nazis?
Of the 63 seats, though, being
They didn't want-
elected, preliminary results
Sure, one man
were
about that,
34 and the
Let me one
DMP
give, look at her, say,
very tight race there. Well, the Council Jamaica has lifted its economy, reducing public debt from more than 140% of GDP in 2013 to 73.4% in the financial year 2023-2024. And the economy is expected to grow by 1.7%. Also bring a drastic reduction in crime under the JLP, with a 43% drop in killings so far this year, marking the most significant decline in decades. Holness was also accused of corruption and political opponents during the campaign, and official voter turnout was just 38.8%, which was only slightly higher than the turnout of the 2020 elections during the pandemic. So those are your stories. Your thoughts.
So, with this, we talk about resurgence of Ebola. In fact, when we look at things, we're prepared. Because America pulling most of its funds out, the real response to Ebola when it happened there, the index Sawyer, the Liberian American, that came into this country and the president was because of the American
But because
then they were able to get out of the job. I don't know the availability of that in rural areas like this.
get together and get together.
America has been pulling more.
Oh, honey, I bet it's oh boy, I say.
People that works with American
You
CDC
want to enjoy it.
Liberia, and they have helped with the responses to
It's easy for you
Ebola
because
over the years.
well, no matter
I
the
don't
difficult
know
for them
what
to
this state
fix.
is like since we hear a lot of
For your
American
body,
police,
yeah,
the African colonies. And
Get the people in
the Secretary of Health, GFK, and he's RFK 35 now, so really damaging to the CDC. So, I believe we have the better plan. That the good response will prevail, they'll be able to do the tracing on time, and they'll be able to nip the case of economic definitely. We've only had Ebola outbreak for many years, over 40 years. That's what is going on there. You know, the fight that is going on there is making things also difficult out there. As regards the coalition of women, so Europe, so to type, has really done something incredible. They had a meeting yesterday, and Steve Witkoff was there. And what they decided in the meeting was, okay, we need to be able to bolster Ukraine's strength if the war ends today. In fact, they've even made good their pledge by buying some weapons off the Americans, some Aram weapons, you know, long-range missiles and the like. They paid close to $1 billion for that. But my fear is the fact, I think it was Dimitri Peskov that replied and said, you cannot give me security guarantees without It's just echoing what Sergei Lavrov had said before in the past. Part of this Russia must be there. And Russia is not willing to end the war now. And obviously, like we predicted, Trump has with all of that show off they had in Anchorage in Alaska, which was there. And look at Trump hasn't met Zelensky.
Those workers don't have time
Is to go and meet the likes of Kim Jong-un and the leader of China and show him what they're doing against the West. So we are having to sack now. The war is not ending anytime soon. Russia still has a lot of bombs out there. The war economy in Russia is even thriving. I heard there was about 4.1% growth. So these are the problems on ground. But I'm happy that Europe has taken a major step. They are saying, okay, this is what they will need to end. Let's wait till the war ends. I don't know who's going to talk to them. Another Nobel Prize in the mud for Trump.
Thank you for that.
I like that they're watching, you know, like you watch on Donald Trump attempt to get a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, so we have to show the
All right.
that's what I'm working on.
Okay, let me talk about public health.
Manager, screenshot all the good conversations we
There
engage
should
in.
be some great concern towards as a nation. You know, even though we can say DR Congo is not very close to us in terms of proximity of neighboring countries to Nigeria, but we do recognize the fact that
No, they want to call, they have the member of the
people, and we saw what happened in 2014. The thing about Ebola is because of its high fatality rate, 90%. In fact, the index case that you identified, like you said, is passed on. The 20-year-old man, we saw how deadly it was when it came to Nigeria. What we often say is that the prayer is not enough. To say prayer is good, because I believe in prayers. They're also saying that God gives us wisdom to do the right thing. Dr. Chikwueze Kwasi, in his book, that's former DG of NCDC, had a course in his life. Experience during the outbreak of
Okay, we had how they carry gather this set of
there was a
information.
lack of commitment of infrastructure, especially after the outbreak of the pandemic, epidemic or an epidemic. And what we shouldn't always be
They have
doing
to
is
see that they have every visible.
as a nation,
Not
and even as a
for this
regional bloc for Africa.
you know, I can't do that. I think the hand, you might have seen the name, I think the hand. One I can be 11. Then you do
I said, no, but everything was not.
I think I'm going to what are some different businesses. I mean, my uncle, my name, I can't kill one.
And
Let them let me get that.
that ought to be very
Man, I say, only time you touch my idea, would you go to industrial gas? Now, one and a half of them will do their job. Now, one and a half of them will do their job. How about one? I was able to industrial gas is speaking. Now, most of them, their services will no longer be there.
To ensure that you don't come into the nation. So I'm hoping that
We want one higher, everybody wake up. I put 7 o'clock, is prepared. Now, it's okay, so why am I
start looking for ways to fight it. Perhaps if we did that properly, Dr. Dadeva will still be with us here. And we always, every time
Father, now, President, I'm talking about 4
this woman and the other
I maybe
I'm hoping number one,
that if you
still have some health conditions that are dealing with monkeypox is still right.
then listen to that.
Cholera
Half of you, 5 of you
we still have because
of this you know like that, but I'm
in Nigeria. So infrastructure, healthcare system, we know that the resident doctors are still ready to go on strike, that we have health crisis on our hands. So these are some of the things that we should talk about before the emergence of a new virus or an existing virus. That we don't
So,
what I'm just saying is if you're traveling, please pay close attention, especially across the African corridor. Please ensure that you're masked up, you're sanitizing, you're washing your hands. And if you come back, please, if you have any symptoms, think of the larger people and declare. Don't keep it to yourself.
Okay, very quickly on Ebola. Ebola was first identified in 1976, and the host agent is the bat. Now we have in southern Kasai province according to the Minister of Health of the DRC, Roger Kamba, 28 cases. Out of these 28 cases, 15 persons have died. However, they have on the ground a rapid response team that is trying to address this. Now, the only side of it is that in DRC, they have long-standing experience in managing disease outbreaks. This is the 16th time that you will have an outbreak of Ebola in the DRC. The last time was in April 2020. The time after that was in Uganda. So they seem to have some experience. But WHO, I think we should note the fact that they're already sending medical supplies, they're sending experts to support the team on the ground in the DRC to see how this latest outbreak. I understand your concern about what happened in the other time when we had the zero. There's been some knowledge managing Ebola, and maybe that kind of situation. Main thing about internal vigilance. Now in Jamaica, the thing to note is that in Jamaica they don't have what they call term limits. In 2010, Prime Minister Golding, that was the name of the Prime Minister then, tried to introduce term limits, saying that if you have spent more than 9 years, then you can't come and say you still want to be Prime Minister. But that didn't go through. The current person, Andrew Holmes, then took over. Now he has won the third term. What is his second? He says he's going to reduce personal income tax from 25% to 15%. The candidate of the PNC, the other party, main opposition party, you only have 2 political parties in Jamaica. You don't have more than 2. The other person says, oh, you will increase the threshold for income tax. Under Holmes, unemployment rate is about 3.3%. Now, homicide, murder cases have been reduced by almost about 43%, particularly in the president. Is this populism that has helped him? Turnout was 39.5%. That's the exact figure, at the end of the day. 39.5%. But the monitors, the observers, Zambia and the Organization of American States say that it was a peaceful, and well-processed election. So he's there. Now, quickly, as for the meeting of the Coalition of the Wind, 26 of them, 23 European leaders and 3 others, namely Canada, Australia, and Japan. Yeah. What they are saying is that they will put together a reassurance force on the condition that the war ends. And then they want the support of the United States. That was how, after the meeting, Macron put a call through to President Trump. Yeah. And he came back to the meeting and said, oh, he has the assurance of President Trump. But the position of the United States is opaque. Stephen Witkoff, the special envoy for President Trump, was admitted. Zelensky was there. Now, Trump has made it clear that they are not going to put troops on the ground. The best that they can do is perhaps to provide support in terms of intelligence to other countries who are going to be involved in this. Number 2, Putin says he does not want any force that is looking like NATO or looking like European, even if the war ends in Ukraine. So, in other words, Putin is not interested in ending the war. And Putin is saying that if Zelensky wants to meet with him, he should come to Moscow, which in itself is a kind of capitulation demanded. Now Zelensky says he will meet in Istanbul, he will meet in Switzerland, he will meet in other places. But Putin controls over 10% of Ukrainian territory. I don't think he wants to give that up. And we cannot count on the sincerity of the United States, which President Macron appears to be optimistic about. That is the situation with regard to Ukraine, the 3.5 war that Putin doesn't want to have.
All right, well, thank you all for your wonderful submissions. Let's take a look at some newspapers now. This day leads with former President Goodluck Jonathan saying that the 2015 general election, which he lost to the late former President Muhammadu Buhari, was full of betrayals. He said the same with Nigeria's political atmosphere, again, full of betrayals and lies. He made these comments at the 70th birthday, as you've already
Because the Nigerian politician is full of
former
traitors and liars.
deputy governor.
Very old politician.
He
That's a good one quiet man like that. Nigerians are not shouting.
The government of the federation, one of the many leaders who
The country exactly you know that the presidency is not what the blood of any Nigerian
I tell you.
or
police inviting former Kaduna State Governor.
That time I was not a fighter. A fighter.
Allegations of
And that's no more fight because emergency of
Egypt, Palestine, Iran, and Yemen.
emergency of Buhari APC yes I want a PDP cannot I have to go back.
because they won't come out again after that.
They'll keep forming another listing.
They keep forming new ones, or that's what we're now.
That's quite literally the case. I touched like
Oh, you know that
was
Buru
phrasing
PDP.
graffiti which said tax evasion. Now the lawyers, she said, gave her the advice to pay £40,000 less. She should have denied giving her any advice at all, as they are not committed to give tax advice. Can you imagine? Keir Starmer says that he will take action in the findings of this ethics inquiry, which may not see him remove her as housing secretary, as he cannot actually remove her as deputy prime minister. So we'll see what
Politics in Nigeria, they
the
many
United
why.
Kingdom's Guardian leads with the Labour MPs, insisting that Prime Minister Keir Starmer must not meet with the Israeli President Isaac Herzog during the UK visit on Wednesday. We'll see when that happens, if that happens, if he will actually see him. The Times headline shows a picture of Princess of Wales, who has sparked conversations over her hair, which is visibly lighter with blonde highlights. Now there had been chatter that she had started wearing wigs, unconfirmed of course. And if that is the case, it is important to avoid being insensitive, as we know that Catherine is a cancer survivor. And finally, the picture headline on the Financial Times shows the creative force that was the Italian fashion designer and founder Giorgio Armani, who died at age 91 years. He'll be remembered for revolutionizing men and women's wear and for keeping his self-titled business private despite its vast growth. Those are your papers. All right, I'm so sorry. I wish we could talk about. Oh, so people should not advice. They said they didn't give her advice, and they don't even have the legal powers to give advice. There's a specific legal definition of advice when it comes to tax. They said they didn't even give her.
Hey, what you and I know that not bringing her sons was just an emotional.
People use anything to hold her.
This is the first time I heard from anybody know. If you have time, I have it.
Thank you so much, and we just go to show that, like, for Nigerian Jonathan, politicians in Nigeria or the United Kingdom. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have a study update on global business activity. Stay with us.
I was here, might be thinking, what is awaiting me at United?
Starting and growing a business can be tough. Especially insufficient funds. These businesses are going through expensive, like trinity tax and Access Bank will not SMEs when business levels the flexible cost savings account. With corporate solutions to help your business grow. With our Garmin Business Advantage account, you can easily access financial support, business tools for growth, business loans, and opportunities to meet and interact with other business owners. Dream big and elevate your business to the next level. To learn more, visit www.accessbank.com/business/SME-banking or walk into any of our branches to get started.
Potential United disaster if that was something that was going to happen for them.
Hey boss, 30,000 naira, can I get
Welcome to the Inter-African Trade Fair 2025, the gateway to abundant opportunity, the platform for more access to a customers, more makers and creators, more technology and manufacturing capabilities.
More reaction to last night's result was Manchester United getting knocked out of the Carabao Cup by Grimsby Town in League Two. And Jamie Jackson from the Guardian joins us now.
For more infrastructure,
Jamie, you were at the game last night. I mean, it's the same.
creativity, production, and more deals for the people. African Bank, in collaboration with the African Union Commission and the AFCFTA Secretariat, brings you the 4th Intra-African Trade Fair, hosted by the over 2,000 exhibitors, 25,000 plus attendees, 140 plus countries, $44 billion in joint investment opportunities. Register now and enter the gateway to new opportunities.
I'm going to put up for China. They tell me all the on for how many hours per night? 6 hours a week. 6 hours from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. At least it's another 6 hours. May 1 week or 6 times. 7.
Partners and riders offering access to restaurants, supermarkets, pharmacies, and many more. Our vision is to give everyone access to anything they want in the city in minutes. The key areas in the value chain that require the most financing to deliver sustainable growth, so that partners to restaurants, to stores.
There's only plenty when they stay here. By the time I pick everybody's phone and put this thing with their own mail, you understand, with their own YouTube account. I put like 5 people for 1 week.
On the career side, access
I will be getting
financial solutions that are able
almost 500
to support riders
watch time per week.
to do their job, which is really valuable. And I think all of these things sort of work together to add value to users, right? They just need to, if that's a customer
Phone me now, then I see what I work. Every night, it's called family. I make good night, I'm not around during the day. They can do it's called like 5. I met of that a bit with their 40.
Stronger policies build investor confidence.
They go ahead and wait to see and on a back
From roads to classrooms, homes to markets, reform touches lives in big and small ways. Next 31 is the reform imperative, building a prosperous and inclusive Nigeria by 2030. Join us from October 6 to 8. Extra and NestGroup.org/31.
On 31st it was on Sunday now. And that's when I got like 9. Okay, that's when I ain't not that late. I ain't not that late. But I mean my life now back. That life I made now back because other ones, one of my video people name it online.
Welcome back to the morning show. Yeah, I'm a live series. Now for global business
watch time.
to Spotiri. Morning, Ruth.
I don't know, I can play the page of
I will begin with the what I knew was going to be pretty tough to Stephen Moran. the Donald Trump's pick to replace Ivana Kruger at the Federal Reserve. He faced the U.S. Senate Banking Committee. There were lots of questions about how he feels about Federal Reserve independence, and there was one particular exchange on the Bureau of Labor Statistics, because we're getting those non-farm payrolls numbers later today. The entire world is going to be looking at those numbers. So here is a very testy exchange between Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, who is on the committee, and Stephen.
This Massachusetts,
Let me ask you another question here. The Federal Reserve relies on accurate and unbiased data to make monetary policy, including data produced by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. President Trump recently fired the BLS commissioner, alleging that she, quote, faked the jobs numbers before the election to try and boost Kamala's chances of victory. Do you agree with President Trump that the BLS published fake numbers to manipulate the outcome of the 2024 presidential election?
Thank you for the question, Ranking Member Warren. Look, the data quality from the Bureau of
That's
Labor
not the question about the data quality. Did, as President Trump said, the BLS publish fake numbers to manipulate the outcome of the 2024 presidential election? This is what President Trump said. Is he right? You're the head of the Council of Economic Advisors.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics data on various measures has deteriorated steadily in quality over time.
I understand that you may have questions about the data quality, but I want to remind you that when the data seemed to show that Donald Trump's jobs numbers were doing well, I didn't hear you say a single word about problems with data quality. The only time you started questioning data quality was when the numbers started showing that Trump's economy was headed in the wrong direction. So let me ask you the question for the third time. We want to understand your independence. Donald Trump stated that the BLS faked the job numbers
they know they fear
before the
their president,
election
like
to
Nigeria.
try and boost Kamala's chances of victory. Do you agree with that?
Try
Yes
blast
or
them,
no?
blast them.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics did not take corrective action to improve the quality of steadily
Do you
deteriorating
agree
data.
with the statement that they faked numbers?
I believe that they were complacently allowing the data.
Did you have any evidence that they faked numbers?
Well, as I said moments ago, the data have steadily deteriorated in quality, and I'm happy.
Okay, in other words, just two straightforward questions about your independence, and you've blown both of them.
It didn't get better for him, but the numbers are coming out about 1 p.m. Eastern time. So remember, it was 73,000 jobs created in August. The downward revision for the prior 2 months was 258,000. So everybody from U.S. markets, Europe, everyone's because if these numbers are worse, then that means that the labor market is in trouble in the U.S. and the Fed is probably going to have to step in. There's going to be all kinds of questions. So everybody will all wait to see what those numbers are when they are released. Next up, I think they'll have to. I don't know if you. Fashion news. Armani, of course, passing away at 91. Giorgio. You know, he was the only shareholder of his company. I mean, he held his company precisely to which has 1.2 billion net worth. And look, I think he was one that pioneered.
It was just the other guy that died in the 80s. I think.
Yeah, but he assumed he held on to
he held on the shares. So, but there were two co-founders.
I think he pioneered the whole of the red carpets to showcase fashion. So big Italian giants passing away there. I think we're still in Europe now. The Lisbon crash. I think I definitely brought this up yesterday. It is now talk of how safety in Portugal could actually impact tourism. Portugal has an estimated 10 million residents. 19 million foreign visitors visited Portugal in 2024, and that's almost double their population. Shout out to Jerome, he's a very talented producer that we work with. He lives in Porto. Yeah, talks to me about how nice it is over there. They're 7th or 6th most safest country in the world. So tourism is huge for GDP. This is Paul Duque, the dean, professor at the University of Lisbon School of Economics and Management. That accidents happen everywhere, but this is unprecedented and raises serious safety concerns for tourists. It calls into question Portugal's image as a safe haven for visitors. The three of you all the time talk about insecurity and how that impacts tourism around the world. I think we then go on to Nigeria. The GTEx has wrapped up. There was a lot of talk about artificial intelligence and particularly demand for data centers. MTN and Airtel are both committed to spend about $400 million on data centers in Nigeria. MTN says that between 600 million to 850 was spent on cloud services in Nigeria in 2024. There are also smaller players though. While MTN and Airtel want to build their own infrastructure and own it and charge in Naira, you've got other players like Novus and Layer 3 that are leveraging on other platforms in order to provide that service. So the data center conversation is one that continues to grow in Nigeria. And interestingly, the head of, I think it's business services at MTN Nigeria, Linda St. Nwafo said, there's a difference, I like this quote, the tech about picked this up. She says, there's a difference between charging in Naira and being priced in Naira. This is very, in terms of the cost. Again, the currency is stable, so at least that should mitigate that going forward. But data centers need a lot of electricity, need a lot of water, they need to be cooled, but it's part of the conversation. That's our update. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Lotus. Unfortunately, we still have no time
the weekend
to discuss some of those issues.
But Monday we'll go by the job numbers when they come out. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Hey, wow.
Weak employment data, less than 75,000, like Dow Jones was expecting. Anyway, we'll take a short break now. And when we return, we'll be talking to Nnoruka Udechukwu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, former Attorney General of Anambra State. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Mr. Chef in the Mr. Chef Extra Jar promo. Buy the 100 cubes pack, get 10 free cubes. Buy the 50 cubes pack, get 5 free cubes. Available in beef, chicken, mixed spices, and all-purpose variants.
In the heart of Africa's largest economy, a silent transformation is unfolding. At the center of it all is Conga Group, an ecosystem of innovation, commerce, and capability.
Our goal was simple, yet ambitious, to build robust infrastructure that simply connects our customers and our merchants, offering our customers greater variety while creating wealth and new opportunities for our merchants.
Our aim didn't just take, it's about national execution every day.
Conga Health, where science meets beauty.
We are the engine behind Conga's nationwide delivery power.
We are redefining commerce in Nigeria, connecting millions of buyers and sellers through a secure, trusted, and scalable marketplace.
Conga Corporates serves the needs of corporates, delivered at the right price, at the right time, with peace of mind. Conga Pay, authentic bills on integrity. Connecting brands to their target audience and markets.
With Conga, what can't you do? Conga Group, the e-commerce group you trust.
Don't like to eat better, more nutritious meals, more veggies, but we want it tasty and easy too. No cubes, that's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, garlic, and enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's it, Coco. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
Search your videos of Italy.
Whoa, our next vacation!
One command and I take you away, like you are there.
Across Nigeria, Platform is changing the game for resellers, business owners, and everyday entrepreneurs who need a trusted source for tech products. Introducing the TD TD Africa Super App, your gateway to tech products directly from manufacturers. Get access to competitive prices on a variety of products such as computers, phones, consumer electronics, printers, games and toners, inverter solutions, and many more from brands like Samsung, HP, Huawei, Dell, Zynos. In just a few clicks, scale your business, do seamless trade, track your orders, and maximize profits. Are you ready to join Africa's most powerful reseller network? Join millions of businesses on Super App today and be a part of Africa's digital renaissance. Visit superapp.tdafrica.com to get started. One platform, one purpose, powered by innovation. TD Africa, empowering you.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Wednesday said his administration will work closely with the leadership of the National Assembly to remove political and bureaucratic bottlenecks, stalling the operationalization of state police in Nigeria. Speaking at the State House Abuja during the meeting with members of the Northeast Governors Forum, led by Babagana Zulum, the president said the time had come for a clear collective path towards community-based policing that reflects the peculiar needs of different regions. The president stressed that while political concerns will always surface around the issue, they must not be allowed to derail urgent security reforms. Joining us to discuss President Tinubu's hint on establishing the police, how this will change the tide in the fight against insurgency and violent crimes, is Imauka Udechukwu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, former Attorney General of Anambra State. Good morning, Mr. Udechukwu, SAN. Thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Good morning, Dr. Gatt.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for State Police. Sometimes some people use the police interchangeably to say community police. You know, by 2014 National Political Conference, that conference recommended state police. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has returned to that same issue with our state police. Now, by last year, he set up a committee. That committee, led by the Vice President, submitted his report. By January this year, we had almost all the state governors supporting it. By March 2025, only 20 out of the 36 states and the FCT have submitted reports as to, their own vision, state police-wise. Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu says he's committed to this idea of state police. Now, what do you think? Is it just enough to keep talking about it when would, all these promises yield outcomes? And how, in your view? Either in terms of constitutional amendment or in terms of the structure, the framework, and all that.
Thank you once again for having me. I think the place for me to start is to emphasize that the issue about whether to have a central police organization or to allow states to run their own police services had always been with us. It was a very, very serious issue during the debate that was precursor to the 1999 Constitution. It was not an easy debate that eventually culminated in an agreement to adopt the version that is contained in section 214 of the 1999 Constitution, which created for central police. But ever since then, the debate has never ended. Issues have always arisen as to whether there should be liberty for each state that may wish it to create a police system of its own. Because of the very serious limitation created by Section 214 of the Constitution, which absolutely prohibited state police, states resorted to security organizations that they called by all sorts of psychedelic names. The matters have now come to a head under the administration of President Tinubu, and I am aware of the fact that as we speak, the issue is before the National Legislature for the promulgation of an amendment to the Constitution in order to bring into light the centralization of police command, so that there will be space for states that wish to keep police of their own to do so.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, sir. Now, one of the biggest, of course, concerns around this, and you touched on this slightly, but I'd like you to delve in a bit deeper, is the consensus around is that, yes, the governors or the states are closer to the people, so it would be a good idea. We see other parts of the world where even the local government is the one responsible for policing their communities in some parts of the world because they are seen to be closer to the people. But there's still concerns around structures for checks and balances. What should these structures look like at every point, at every level? So that when we talk about constitutional amendments, it's part of the process. Whether it be from the State House of Assembly, we look at the judiciary itself, we look at internal checks and balances in the police. What would make this stronger so that we don't have a repeat of what we face at the federal level, at the state level, if we do go for state police?
You know, the problem we have in Nigeria is that of politics. The kind of politics that we experience in Nigeria, the winner takes all kind of politics, the highly charged political atmosphere that we live under, makes it very, very difficult to find a solution to what is otherwise a very simple matter. At the base of all the problem about whether to have a state police or whether to have a central police system or a state police system is because of the urge, the inordinate urge in the politician to exercise absolute power. So when you leave the police in the hands of the states, the governors are always suspected to abuse the powers for their own benefit, especially during campaigns, as a political campaigns. They may make it difficult for their opponents to have any level playing ground. Again, it was the fact that the state had some measure of control over the police that made the Nigerian Civil War easy to start. That was really the reason why the courage to confront the federal government existed at the time, because the state government had control over its police force, which it could turn into an army. So that is the reason why the debate has been always intense. And I can assure you, even if you yield to the present demand for decentralized police force, the same problems that were seen in the past will resurface. The abuse of power, the misuse of the police force by the chief executives, who invariably become the directors of their respective state police formations.
Okay. So, can you just take us through maybe like a mental understanding of how you want checks and balances to be put in place if we have a case of state police. So take for instance, I was going through a couple of ideas myself, and one I thought of to be a council of accountability, where NGO, human interest group, citizens from society are put on that council of various state police. So that council of accountability is the council where people will report police infractions in various states, and they're going to review and give binding what's it called now, narrative or binding ideas as regards how an infraction is going to be handled. But it should be peopled by the people of Nigeria, NGOs, human interest group, to be able to have a level of accountability. What do you think about that? What model would you think the state police should run on for effectiveness?
I would distance myself totally from a situation that you describe, because it is going to lead to anarchy, to chaos, and it had resulted in chaos in the past. My recommendation would be to look very critically at Section 214 of the 1999 Constitution, especially the provision therein that limited absolutely the power to establish police in the federal government. Now, what the legislature is trying to do now is to whittle down that power by allowing states who think they need effective control over their own police force in order to be in a position to control security in their states, to be given that leeway to do so. I do not think that the way to achieve that objective is to have a laissez-faire, where everybody begins to be an ombudsman, determining what happens with, call it state police or federal police. I think that the best thing to do is to set up, as the new law is about to do, a central police civil commission that will look after the workings of the police force nationally. Let us emphasize that police is still in the exclusive legislative list. I think it is section 54 in that list. Yeah, it is number 54 in that list. It should remain so. The federal government, the federal legislature should continue to exercise legislative authority over the administration of the Nigeria police, be it in the state or in the federation as such. If we have a central command, a central control command, where standards can be standardized, so that there will be no tendency in any state for a governor to abuse the police force under his own command, that will solve the problems. Whether that is achievable in the kind of political environment that we run is another matter altogether.
And that's exactly my point, because when you look at it, we have something of that nature. So when I rise of blessed memory, we have something of that nature. But we can see the dichotomy between that, setup and the IGP saying that, okay, you can't guard me, you can't lead me. Why not we put the people that are going to be served by the state police in the council where they review their action? We can use any procedure to be able to vet the people that will be on that council. But if you still have a command central structure, it's still going to be subject, to the president, to the leadership of the nation. And in a time of politics, definitely you can use it against the people. Why don't we have buffers where the people too are also part of it?
Well, Rufai, my contention had always been that there is no perfection in life. There is no perfection in human affairs. We can never have a perfect system that will have no flaws. It's all a matter of comparing what we have in our hands and what we are looking up to. I will always be the one to canvass that a laissez-faire where every citizen is an ombudsman to control what goes on in every institution, including the police force.
Okay.
The sort of rowdy environment we have with those, permit me to use the word, who call themselves civil.
Okay, I just...
is it civil defense to say?
No, I just need two clarifications,
yes.
Mr. Dechukwu. Number one, you seem to be saying that you are opposed to the idea of state police because you say it will lead to chaos, anarchy, and that you think a centralized police system is in order. That's standard police hierarchy argument. They want to remain in charge. But how do you place this against one? The idea of the devolution of powers, of having a proper federal system. And how do you place this against the argument by some persons? And look, in other jurisdictions, they have a National Guard, they have a state marshals, they have a decentralized police system. How do you place this against the argument by some of the state governors or state governors who say they are called chief security officers in their states, but they are powerless when it comes to security? After all, we saw the other day in Lagos State where an ordinary sergeant told a sitting governor he doesn't take instructions from the governor. He takes only instructions from the center.
Minus U4 is equal to what? I don't know if that's what I'm saying. What is it?
But Dr. Bati, I try as much as possible to distance myself from political issues in Nigeria. But let me say this as forcefully as I can. There is nothing wrong with the present system we have, whereby a commissioner of police in a state takes direction from the state government, except where a particular directive is considered to be overreaching, in which case the commissioner of police clears the matter with the hierarchy of the police force, the Inspector General of Police and Mr. President. I don't see anything wrong with that. What we are hearing towards is people who want to exercise absolute powers. And absolute powers always corrupts absolutely. We can't have a perfect system if what we are looking for is a situation where you hand over the state to the governor, and then he will use his powers to suppress everybody through the instrumentality of the police force exclusively under his control. That is what I am against. If I may give you a very reluctant example of what I am looking at. In certain states, as you know, Dr. Abachi, political groups who are in opposition to the ruling government may have difficulty running a campaign, a political campaign in that state. They are not even allowed to put on placards. If they put, they are removed. Now, if you get the governor and give him a police force under his control, heaven forgive us. Because he will do whatever he likes in that state, and he will never have the voice of opposition in that state.
All right. Okay, thank you so much.
You don't know what you are saying, sir. That you don't believe that the persons we elect as governors have the maturity or the common sense to be able to ensure security on behalf of the people over whom they govern.
This is my interpretation.
That's what you are saying.
And I'm saying that again.
You've said it more loudly than I can, because the examples are suffused. We have the examples of proof of what you have just said. What is happening in River State, for instance?
What is unity?
How come that an ex-governor is exercising so much power?
A plus what? 3D. All is equal to what?
Absolute power will always corrupt absolutely. If you allow the governor the kind of wicked to have that kind of control over a police force in his state, heaven forgive us.
All right. Well, I see your point, sir. However, maybe the conversation should be around the kind of leaders that we elect, the kind of people who we elect to govern us. Because if you make that argument for security alone, you can make it for a number of other things. Control of state resources, state electoral commissions. You can make that argument. So perhaps maybe the conversation should be around elevating the kind of leaders that are elected as governors, since they'll have some responsibilities in the event of state police. But let me probe further on a statement that you made earlier on. You talked about the control of regional police in the First Republic, making the civil war easier. Now, would you not say that we still have separatist tendencies? We hear it almost every other week. One person saying they want to separate one another. Do you think that creation of state police would mitigate this risk, or do you think that would help to mitigate this risk? Because it's still here, despite the fact that it's central, it's centered.
Right? So we have that.
Thank you, Ayo. Let me try and get back to where I began to see if I can make myself clearer. The provision in section 214 of the 1999 Constitution, the only thing I find a little bit difficult to accept in it is that it absolutely prohibits the existence of state police. I think that is the anomaly that the present bill before the National Assembly is trying to fix, whereby you can now have state police commands, but under control of a central controlling body, so that standards can be unified. What I am against is leaving it free to the governor of a state to take control of the police force and do whatever he likes. We've seen how dangerous that can be in the past.
Okay, so we've seen how dangerous that can be in the past, but we also need to solve the problem. So if you're saying you are against state police, are you in favor of recruiting more police officers? We have about 350, 400,000 that we say is grossly inadequate. Are you in favor of recruiting maybe close to 1 million police officers?
Please, I think I've failed to get my views really understood. Let me try once more. I am not against state police. What I am against is exclusively controlled by the governor.
So sir, with due respect,
because he is the chief executive of the state.
So, sir, with due respect, there's no how they're going to have state police that the same governors that pay for the state police will not exclusively control it. And there's no how that all of a sudden you are going to have saints or perfect politicians like you say we do not have overnight, not even with the political structure that you pay close to 100 million for nomination form, not with that structure. So you will have the highest spenders. Perhaps some of them might be rogues in nature. So there's no how you will not have that. So let's remove all of that. What we are saying is, so do you now favor, if we don't have this that you are saying, in giving all the power to the government, do we now say, okay, should we ramp up the number of police or police recruitment, maybe get like over 500 or 600,000 police officers to be able to now deploy more officers on the state and continue with this structure? Is that a suggestion that you might look at?
The way I understand the bill that is now before the National Assembly, payment, funding of the bill for maintenance of state police is not going to be left to the responsibility of the governors or state government. it is still going to be regulated by the center. After all, policing is in the exclusive list. It's not being removed from there. That bill is going to provide for the modalities for the operation of state police. Let it remain under the control of state agency. Let it not be left in the hands of politicians who, from time to time, are governors of the respective states and who are going to use these police force as political weapon against their opponents.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
We see it every time.
Just wanted to clarify a question, Dr. Bassey, just 1 second. I'd asked, just to clarify the question I asked earlier on, sir, apologies again for taking us back, but I'd made a point around separatist tendencies and your assertion that regional control of the police was what perhaps aided in the First Republic, the Civil War. Do you think we could mitigate that risk with the creation of states? Yeah, with the creation of more state police. I asked that question earlier, but you didn't address that point about could this be a mitigating factor?
I'm sorry if I didn't. Let me try again. I am looking at the bill that is presently being debated by the National Assembly. I think it makes sufficient provisions to deal with this issue you are raising, these separatist issues. The contemplated police formations that are now going to be called state police are not going to be exclusively under the control of the governors who may then be tempted to deploy it for separatist adventures. I am looking at that bill. That bill, to me, is a very well constructed bill, and I'm anxiously following its movement. It's gone through the first reading, I think. I hope that it continues to sail through and then becomes a law in this country. Then it is going to substantially remove what you are fearing might lead to separatist tendencies in the police force. Because the state police that is envisaged under that bill is not a state police that the governor can do as he pleases with.
All right. Okay, sir, just before we round off,
it is the content of that bill that is now before the National Assembly that is giving me the courage to make the points that I'm making.
Excellent. All right. So just as a way of a solution, or perhaps a way to check some of the concerns you talked about, would it then make sense to have elected regional police in the 6 geopolitical zones? So regional, rather than state police, let's move for regional police so that we don't have elected in the 6 regional political zones in Nigeria. Would that be a better solution?
I'm sorry if below the belt. You've gone to an area where I will say no a million times.
And why is that so, sir?
Please do not leave the fate of Nigerians in the hands of elected people. We know how these elections are done. Look at the last elections we just had. People just hang around and then give money to people to vote. And you're going to be elected. If I had my way, elections will stop in this country.
But is it not the federal police that oversees those flawed elections you are complaining about? So why are you thinking it's better managed when it's on the federal than on the state? Is it not the same federal police that oversees those flawed and shambolic elections you are complaining about? Is it not the same federal police that is being used to attack opposition figures in the state? So what's the difference?
In fact, I have been an attorney general in a state, and I know the influence I wielded over my governor in ensuring that the rule of law prevailed over executive lawlessness. I'm telling you that when you have a kind of government that I worked under as Attorney General, there may be no problem, because I had a governor who was saying and clean and never interfered with the decisions of the Attorney General. But probably that was because I never lobbied to be made an Attorney General. I was made an Attorney General against my will. But if you have Attorney General that lobbied to become an Attorney General, then he is going to be a bootlicker. And the governor is going to use him for any purpose whatsoever. Or he will dismiss him. I worked on that, Ngige.
Thank you. Anyway, thank you very much.
And I overruled Ngige so many times, and I overruled Ngige so many times, and he never sacked me.
Okay, thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us in the morning show. We'll take a short break now. And when we return, we'll be talking to Bob Ijemanze, an elder statesman and a public affairs analyst. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
That means that 5G is equal to 25.
Coming soon to over 500 million smartphone users and 1.5 billion voices. Leke, the social platform for the world, out of Africa. By the founders of Arise and This Day Media Group, we're going to be launching a big bang. A new homegrown social platform born in Africa and built for the world, blending community, culture, and cutting-edge AI. It's fast, culturally rooted, data-friendly, and designed to scale globally. A digital platform for youth, creators, and business. A one-stop shop to connect, share, create, and earn. It's time to end social media imperialism. This is Leke, a voice for all.
My name is Austin Azoko Kocha, but you all call me JJ. That's because I was so unstoppable, they named me twice. During my days as a professional footballer, I played as an attacking midfielder. No one could stop me, not even malaria, when mosquito bites. Now you too can be unstoppable if you use Lonart against malaria.
Lonart, a combination of Artemata and lumefantrine. Lonart, be unstoppable.
Are you struggling with a health challenge? Do you need financial help to access treatment?
I'm tired of trying. I need help. I want to try again. I know it's expensive.
Apply now for MHSS, the Maternal Health Service Support, a discounted loan by the W initiative of Access Bank. For more information, visit our website on www.vwcommunity.com or any Access Bank branch nationwide. You can also send an email to wcares@accessbankplc.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to the morning show here on the Rise News. A former Attorney General of Imo State, Chief Sorunandi Njoku SAN, has expressed concern about the lingering disagreement between the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodimma, and the National Judicial Council, saying that the situation was affecting legal practice in the state. Speaking during a media interaction with newsmen in Owerri, the three-time commissioner and former lawmaker at the Imo State House of Assembly said the unfortunate development was rubbing off on legal practitioners in the state, adding that a virus had encroached into the system. He lamented that there had been a lull in legal activities in the state since June 2025 when the NJC directed the immediate retirement of 9 judges due to age falsification. Joining us on the show to discuss the lingering feud between the Imo State government and the National Judicial Council is Bob Njemanze, a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Mr. Njemanze. Thanks for joining us today on the morning show.
Thank you, and God bless you. Well, thank you for joining us on the program. It's a dispute between the Imo State government and the National Judicial Council. Now, the National Judicial Council has powers, authority, if we wish to say, over the appointment and promotion of judges, even at the state level. Now, the NJC, in the matter of Imo State, found that 9 judges had falsified their retirement age, and then said those 9 judges, should be compulsorily retired. And then found that 9 others were not guilty as charged, and those ones were cleared of the charges. But then the state government says, the NJC has no such powers because it is not a court of law. Secondly, the state government appointed Justice Nzeukwu, who was number 4 in the hierarchy, as the acting chief judge of Imo State. And the NJC, considering all of this, said, look, Justice Nzeukwu is number 4 in the hierarchy, and that is the most senior person within the judiciary of Imo State that should be appointed. Hence, the appointment of Justice Nzeukwu as chief judge should be reversed. And then, of course, the state government refused. Do you think that the NJC acted beyond its powers, or that the state government is in a position to dictate to the National Judicial Council in terms of the appointment of judges?
Thank you, Dr. Abati. I had made up my mind before now not to pick up any issues to the public domain. But with the exit of Devanjo and Black, I think still more people will have to come and share their views, because elderly people should not stay in my palace where goods deliver in tatters. What happens in Imo State Judiciary, I'm going to discuss right away, but let me not pull away from this issue. I just overheard a revered Attorney General talk about, and I do hope we shall Dr. Abati,
but by the analysis
the acidic responses or questions from the fight. For those who do not understand, we are running a society of when it suits them right, it can go. When it's otherwise,
almost 90 something.
Chief George that was nominated by the NJC treated him on the basis that he made himself available. The circumstance he found himself in was such that there was no alternative. He presented himself. He was between the devil and the deep sea. And I expected the elders in Imo State, especially as there was statutory established Elders Council, to have taken up this issue and bring up his case. Now, Imo State has become a victim of circumstances. These issues seem to be basic in Imo because it is not being addressed. We're victim. Now, a situation arose in Imo as far back as 1999, where a group of people, by sheer circumstance that the governor at the point in time came from their place, considered themselves into a cabal, seized the Judicial Service Commission and have manipulated it from that time till date. When the present administration came on board, we thought it had dismantled the cabal because it persisted up to Emeka Edion's administration, just before Ofosu came in. Now, I don't know what happened in between. They reared up their heads again because they've been in total control. You can stay back in your house and get your judgment because they fixed the people who were there. Now, unfortunately, one singular person has been a major victim. This whole thing started when Ifunanya Udom should have been Chief Judge. The First Lady Chief Judge Imo State would have had. But because of some domestic misadventure within the executive or the head of the judiciary, Ifunanya was denied that position. And most unfortunately, the present acting Chief Judge happened to have been like a child or daughter or someone mentored by Ifunanya. And so they have trailed her from that 1999 till date. She was appointed the judge of Igbo State High Court at a tender age. And when they are doing their checks and balances in that investigation, she affected her age. At the age of 16, someone who filled her testimonial put in 1959 as against what she had in her birth certificate in 1960, passport 1960, law school said same thing. Was she affecting her age so that she would die as a chief judge where she didn't even know she was going to read law?
Sir.
Now they use this to pursue her up to this point.
No, the questions are
I'm very happy this thing has come up again to the point that
Mr. Ndemanzi.
NJC has a position on it.
No.
The right, the wrong.
No, Mr. Ndemanzi. I think
the
issues are
now the governor, who I thought had straightened that issue, was again cowed down until recently. The NJC took their position. Now, I was listening to the former Attorney General, Times Commissioner, Ronald Joko, who is another person that has the passion for things being done right. But there was certain information that is not in public domain. The governor actually has complied with the appointment of the acting chief judge. What is not done is the swearing in. The swearing in. And that's what has made it impossible for maybe the things that that office is supposed to do to be done. And again, the holiday, which is sacrosanct for the judges, starting within the same period. And the governor cannot go ahead swearing in an acting chief judge. But don't blame the people. But don't blame the people for reacting the way they have reacted. Because they've been taken for granted for too long. Now, I would pray, this is a public domain, that if it's possible, without wasting more time, as soon as the bench gets back to work, the governor should apply to NJC and just swear in a chief judge for Imo State. If the present acting chief judge, as appointed, is good enough to serve on the bench, what stops her being to him straight away
Mr. Njamanze.
as the chief judge.
Hello, sir.
Even in this concentric circle
No,
of
there's a problem. They have a network problem.
the executive.
But that's the studio.
I commend
Alright,
you very
I don't know. Only I'm using government. We know that I'm using government. I have a network problem.
And a few other people. But unfortunately,
Hello, sir. Senior.
Hello, Mr.
Yes.
Njamanze. Look, the issues are fairly straightforward.
I'm listening to you.
Two basic questions. Should judges, whose job it is to uphold the rule of law and also ensure that there is no prejudice in their cause, should they lie about their dates of birth? If judges lie about their dates of birth, then who are we to complain about other citizens? Number two, the other issue is about hierarchy. No, hold on, sir. The other issue is about hierarchy.
Yes.
Section 271 sub 4 of the 1999 Constitution was what the NJC relied upon when it said judge of Imo State is not the person who should be there because it is contrary to what the law says in section 271 sub 4. Now, very straightforward. Are you saying, look, they should just ignore the law and that the law does not matter and that judges can break the law by falsifying their dates of birth?
No, Ruben, no. But you see, when we are beneficiaries of these ills of the society, they become the norm, they become normal. I'm not saying, and I will not acquiesce the situation where judges will perjure and get away with it. But in the present circumstance, I wish you knew the man that was involved. He is not the overambitious type. He found himself in a quagmire. So, Abati, if I'm talking about judges perjuring and get away with it, what haven't you really seen in this country? In any case, what?
Mr. Njamanze, I don't think...
I'm not acquainted
Mr. Njamanze, I don't think the fact that, what is not right has become the norm, unfortunately. That should be a justification for us to promote it or accept it.
In this country.
Sir, we are trying to fix things and get things right. So we cannot say that because people have been doing it before, when the NJC is trying to right what is wrong, you're coming to defend people who, in fact, the argument is that they should face criminal prosecution. That the NJC was light on them because what they did was criminal, in fact. So you coming to say that because it's been happening in Nigeria, we should look away. And irrespective, I'm sorry to say, of the person's personal. So clarify yourself, because what I hear you saying is that we should get to know the man.
Getting me wrong.
Please go ahead and write it.
Sorry, you're getting me wrong.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I will not contest the position of the NJC. I will not. The NJC is supreme, and their decision in this does not qualify for any one of us, me or you, dissecting it to the contrary. What I'm saying is, and look at it, a judge, in fact, it's even peculiar. The JSC recommended him as number 4. And don't forget that number 4 is the magic number in Imo State.
Okay, so what are you saying?
Number 4 is the magic number in Imo State.
So what are you saying?
Because fourth by election. Yeah, Imo State.
It's a serving judge.
Mine.
Oh, mine. Very well.
So
there's no such thing. And he was drafted to be sworn in. We will plead with NJC to be a little bit more considerate in dealing with him.
No,
bring him back to his job.
No, Mr. Njamanze. You see, what you are doing, you are coming to support the evil you speak against in this country. A man. Let me finish.
Please, get that right.
Can I finish? You've been talking since now. Let me talk, sir.
Go ahead.
A man falsified his age.
Yes.
No, let me finish. A man falsified his age.
No, he did not.
Wait, let me finish.
He's not the
Okay.
highest ranking member.
And secondly, he's not the highest ranking member. And they are disciplining, and you've been trying to make a case for
Of
him
what?
since, you know,
No, of
that
what?
the
Highest
NDC
ranking
should
member of
not,
what?
that they should tamper justice with mercy. Are you not supporting the evil we preach against? Because
Exactly.
Because people like you that are supposed to be leading the way, not supporting this.
Rufai,
Yes, sir.
Rufai, I am not supporting that evil. I'm putting you through the circumstances.
There's no circumstance.
To
Evil
enable
is
you.
evil. Evil is evil. There's no circumstance, sir. What you should be saying is kudos to those that discipline the NJC. That's what you should be saying. But you should be commending the NJC. There's no circumstance. If you are trying to put circumstance in place, they are trying to ask for a rigor, which is not good. People like you should collectively condemn evil in society, and these are the elders, like Epayo, Adebanjo, and the like that you cited. These are the people they will condemn, they will strongly support the NJC for. We all say the National Judicial Council does not do its job. Today they are doing their job. Now you are trying to berate them. What are we supporting in this society? So can you commend the NJC for their job now, sir?
Yes.
You commend the NJC on this
You seem to be misunderstanding.
You commend the NJC. Would you like to commend the NJC on their actions against these judges? This judge in question?
I did.
Can you commend them again? Can you commend the NJC again?
Commend them.
The NJC.
Look, Rufai, Imo State became. Rufai, hold on me. Imo State became a victim. Go back to your state and find out how many judges have faltered, affected their prison.
So does that justify? Because everybody has been doing it, they call the person that did it. So does that justify that other people are doing it?
No.
You are supporting corruption, sir. You are supporting evil.
So we're on the same plane. Good. I'm not. No. I take exception to being referred to as state as supporting corruption. No. Profile, let's not deceive ourselves. It's like when they go to the police, they say, police ask me to bring money for bail. And you forget that when you go to court, you have to perfect the bail conditions.
Okay, Mr. Njimanse, we have to go now. I'm so sorry. We have to go now. We are out of time. But thank you so much for your time with us this morning. And hopefully we get to have this conversation in more detail later on. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, right now, we got you information from the Intra-Africa Trade Fair happening in Algiers right now. So joining us on the show from Algeria to bring us updates on the Intra-African Trade Fair is the Rice correspondent, Silmo Faye and Faye from Tigani. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ayo. How are you?